WTBS on 3. Let's
Brick.
go. It's a Sunday show. We're back. It's week 11. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. We talked about it on the waiver wire show on Tuesday. Fantasy NFL season. This is a make or break time. What's the guy's name on the red zone? Chris Evans, as he likes to call, or Chris Hansen, as he likes to call it.
Yeah.
It's a witching hour. It's a witching hour in the NFL season and the fantasy football season. Winners become losers. Losers become winners right now. But I'm here to talk about it with you guys. Ron, Ben, how are you guys doing this Sunday?
I'm glitchy. I'm super glitchy, but the show must go on. I have my coffee here, still in my church polo, and I'm ready to talk week 11 because it's 11 o'clock and we only have an hour to go. So let's get into it, boys. Cheers with some coffee today.
Yeah, excited about today's slate. There's a lot of really good games on today. College football was good to me yesterday, so looking forward to today, man.
And Ben, I'm not going to let you get out of this opening slide without you talking about your new threads. What's going on here?
That was quick.
Show us what you got going on.
Went into the closet, you know what I mean? Pulled out something for this Sunday. But I've been saying it, hinted at it on the pod. Just got the new jersey, right? We got a new sheriff in town. It's time to suit up, baby.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into it because we are here to talk some football. There are some bye weeks to talk about. We did talk about this on Tuesday. You got the Falcons, Saints, Patriots, and Colts. So some notable fantasy players are going to be out, led by Alvin Kamara here, who's been lighting it up. He did have that suspension, but ever since he's come in the game, he's just been, Derek Carr's number one receiver now that he's back. But let's get into it. Excuse me. Injury report. Guys, we talked about some of these guys also on Tuesday in Deshaun Watson and Madison. We even talked about Ty Chandler being a number one waiver wire pickup. That's not going to come to fruition. Madison is actually going to play this week. He got the okay. He cleared the concussion protocol. I don't know what they got going on in Minnesota, but he was able to pass the tests. He's back in. Ty Chandler is going to be the number 2. Guys, any other names here that you guys want to talk about before we run through the list?
No, the biggest
I'll just say.
Go ahead, Ben.
Go ahead. I'll just say about Madison. I just wouldn't get too excited when I'm a Madison owner. I don't think I still want to start him coming off that. Sounds like a guy that just doesn't want to lose his job to me. He already dodged one bullet in the Cam Akers bullet, but I'm not looking to start Madison just because he's active.
Yeah, it's more so news for Chandler, right? If you picked him up on the waiver wire, it's like, hey, I just wasted 20-some on my fab or however much you used to spend on him. And sorry for that because we did spend some time talking about him and did recommend you guys picking him up because he
could still be serviceable today. I mean, let's see.
We'll see. And so some other names here. You got Deshaun Watson out for the year after that heroic performance last week against the Ravens and that comeback performance. Seems like he spent it all last week, knew that he was probably going to be out with those injuries that he sustained, out for the year. Pierce still out. Justin Fields, he's back in. So, Ben, you said that you wouldn't start Madison right away. Justin Fields, if you're an owner here, are you putting him right back in against Detroit?
I'm not, especially against Detroit on the road in Detroit. I think, it was his thumb. It was on his throwing hand. I want to see what it looks like first. I'm actually starting Trevor Lawrence over him, and Trevor Lawrence hasn't been – the best fantasy football quarterback. So,
what about you, Ron? What do you think about Justin?
I'm looking at Singletary again, getting a lot of work over there in Houston. He's definitely going to be a must start, which we're going to get into later. And I think Gibson being out for Washington, that's just a huge day for B-Rob, like you mentioned off camera. So those are the 2 running backs that I'm looking at in Singletary and B-Rob to have a good fantasy week. And we did mention the 4 teams at the beginning, or we're going to get into the bye week blues. So a lot of spots you're going to have to fill in this week. And those are 2 running backs you definitely want to have in your lineup, bro.
But what do you think about Fields, Ron?
I think that Moore's going to have a big day today. I think that Fields is relaxed. He had a lot of time to rest, and I think he's going to show out today.
Okay.
Would you start him?
Well, that's what we're asking you. Yeah. I said no.
I mean, based on where you drafted him,
I was looking at the schedule. My bad.
Yeah, depending on what your backup situation is like if you're fortunate like Ben and you have a guy like Trevor Lawrence or maybe a guy like Geno Smith that we might talk about a little bit later. Maybe you won't be so inclined to put in Justin Fields because it is kind of a tough matchup. Although I feel like whenever Detroit and Chicago play each other, especially in the Dome, is usually some points. So it could be a good situation for Fields, but I probably wouldn't rush it either. But just going through the names real quick here on the left, because there are some big names, and I just have them as other notables because some of this we've known already. But Garrett Wilson, I would pay attention to his status. He's questionable. I think he's dealing with an ankle, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody fact checked me here. Noah Brown, we talked about him on the waiver wire show, talked about spending a little bit of fab on him. His first week as a big waiver wire addition is not going to happen because he is out this week. So it's going to set up some other guys on that team, hopefully. Justin Jefferson, everybody was waiting for him to come off the IR. This was the first week he'd be able to do it. He's out another week, looking like next week is going to be his return. Then some good news here, and I'll pause. Devon Achane, he's back for Miami. They activated him off the waiver wire. We talked about it during the waiver show. I mean, they activated him off the IR, But we talked about it on Tuesday. It was a sprain, not a tear. So everybody's a little bit more positive on him. Ben, I'm going to throw it to you one more time. Devon Achane, if you're an owner, are you putting him right back in?
Yeah, 100%. My brother Edgar has actually, we've been having conversations about this because he has him coming back this week, and he was looking to move a running back for a wide receiver. And I think that Achane is a must start, from here on out, just based on what we saw, previous to his injury. I'm a Mostert owner just with my fingers crossed, hoping for a touchdown just because they're going to score so much. But I think Achane is going to be, going forward, he's going to be a top 5, top 10 running back just based off how good that offense is and how good he is. So I'm automatically putting him back into the starting lineup, 100%.
I like that.
Good morning.
What about you, Ron? Are you as positive as Ben on Devon Achane this week?
I wasn't as positive until you told me that Jeff Wilson was out. So we saw the kind of workload that he had in just that dual running back with a Mostert back there. So I'm with Ben, man. I think that he's in. He's a player that doesn't need a lot of opportunities to give you big plays. So even if, he doesn't get the most carries, say he gets 8 to 12, he's not pushing 20 like a full-time running back would be, he can still give you a touchdown and he can still give you, I would say 50, 60 yards. So, I mean, both those running backs in there could be must starts.
Yeah, I'm throwing Achane back in my lineup. I'm an Achane owner myself. I've been waiting for this week. Thankfully, I'm going to be able to plug him back in because they activated him. So I've been waiting for this. Like Ron said, he doesn't need a lot to give you a lot of production in terms of the carries and the touches necessarily because he's a home run hitter. As soon as he touches the ball, he's liable to go 60 or 70 for a touchdown. Just got to worry about that injury aspect there. But, speaking of Mostert, this offense is lethal enough to carry both of them. I mean, they were doing it the first couple of weeks. Was it going to be as sustainable and as lethal as it was during those weeks? Probably not, where you see Achane going off for 50 and Mostert going off for 45. Like, that's not going to happen every other week, right? But there's going to be games where they both score 20. And I think that can be expected, or 15 and 20, or somebody goes off a little bit more than the other. That's how good this offense is, and that's how good it was on a consistent basis. So I'm positive on both Mostert and Achane, although I do hope Achane goes off a little bit more. The last guy on the list, Antonio Gibson, he's going to be out, so that sets up his counterpart in the running back committee, and Brian Robinson. What do you guys think about that? And let's get to the comments after your thoughts.
Yeah, I think that Gibson's only on here because, like you said, it highlights Brian Robinson, who's already been a big surprise in fantasy football this year. So, they play the Giants today. You really want to start Brian Robinson because you think that he's probably going to get in the end zone. I'd like to think that him to score a touchdown is probably, juiced in the favor of him scoring. So this is a good week for Brian Robinson, possibly RB1 numbers this week. I think his floor is RB2, and this is a guy that maybe you're flexing. Maybe you have been playing at RB2, but this is a good week for him right here.
And Ron, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I don't think that Gibson was much of a threat to B-Rob losing touches here. I mean, it's an injury because of his name. You know how good he was at the beginning of his career with the Commanders, but he really hasn't had any fantasy value regardless. So I don't think it's any big news that would affect your squad, other than saying, okay, I'm just for sure starting B-Rob now.
Yeah, this just gives me a little bit more comfort in
There you go.
starting
Yeah,
B-Rob.
that's like
this is where, like Ben said, if you've been flexing him and stuff, you'll go and talk to B-Rob and he'll move him up a slot right into that RB2, that RB1, because it is a good matchup for him this week when you're going up against the Giants. And then Gibson being out, he was taking, some of those receiving yards from him and then some spot carries here and there, which is kind of, just from a owner's perspective, fantasy wise, a little annoying when you have to worry about, Gibson coming in there and stealing some snaps and stuff like that. And you just have to worry about that with an offense like Washington. But before I said that, I'm going to say I wanted to talk about some of these comments here. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody that's here. Gabe had a question: start Amari Cooper or Dalton Schultz? I'm assuming that's at the flex. Real quick here, I'll go Dalton Schultz. I like the matchup against the Cardinals. You got already Noah Brown out, so that's going to open it up a little bit more. And this is already a pass-happy offense. So, yeah, give me Dalton Schultz here.
Yeah, I'll agree. I mean, this is tough, and this is due to the injury news. Right?
I mean, you got the jersey on, right? You got to go Schultz here.
Yeah, not necessarily. I don't just want to be a homer. I mean, it's somebody else's fantasy team, not mine, right? But I think this week you do got to go Dalton Schultz. Based off the matchup, the over-under for that Steelers and Browns game is set at, I think, 33. So it's at, a really low number. Division game, backup quarterback versus a good defense. I would just take Dalton Schultz this week.
Yeah, I'm going to make it a consensus. It's just easy for me with all the CJ Stroud talk. The guy's just playing out, slinging it, bro. And they did have a connection last week. I think Dalton Schultz did go off. I'm going to make it a consensus to go with Dalton Schultz. I'm not trusting DT. Is it DTR over there?
Yeah, DTR. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trusting that guy against, JJ Watt.
What happened to PJ Walker?
I think he might have gotten hurt, but I think DTR is the starter, or DTR might have gotten hurt, which made PJ Walker the guy. And now that I don't know, but I just know DTR is a starter.
If we're having trouble naming the starter for Cleveland this week, I don't think you want to have Amari Cooper on your roster, Gabe.
All right, and then we have one more question from Mark, and shout out Mark. DK Metcalf or Terry McLaurin? I think this is tough, just given that Metcalf hasn't necessarily been as explosive as he's accustomed to being. At least these past few weeks, he's kind of been a little spotty. Then you got Scary Terry, who I think this year has been the definition of spotty for the most part. I'm going to stick with DK Metcalf, just because I think that when you got the Seahawks and the Rams, it's a little bit more of a closer matchup. I think the spread is only plus or minus 1.5 either way. That you look at it, pretty much a PK. So going to be a much more competitive game. And I think the Commanders versus Giants could be a blowout where maybe the Redskins score a couple of quick touchdowns and McLaurin's left out. So give me DK here to get back on track.
Benny boy.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and agree. We're going to talk a little bit about Geno later, but I do think that this is a good matchup for DK. He usually does pretty well when he plays the Rams, and Jalen Ramsey isn't on the other side anymore, so it should only get easier. So I like DK to get in the end zone this week.
And Ron,
I'm actually on the other side, man. I'm gonna go Scary Terry here, just because I feel he gets targeted a little bit more than DK does. DK is more of that, deeper threat. Scary Terry can get you in the slot. He can get you on the slants. And Sam Howell, he's been slinging it all year. He's a top quarterback fantasy wise. And I think going against the Giants, I think you have to attack them through the air, and they do that regardless. I don't think you beat them in the trenches. So I'm going to go Scary Terry, brother.
Okay. All right.
Over DK.
I like the perspective. And
DK's a little banged up. He always gets that play where he gets, somebody hits him hard and then he gets off the field for a couple drives and shit.
There we go. You always got to take that.
Not today, Ron. Not today.
And before we get into our flexes of the week, let's answer one more question. Shout out Ryan, watching all the way from Nevada. Mike Evans versus San Francisco or Amari Cooper. We just got done talking about him. versus the Steelers. There with the backup quarterback. I'm going to make this quick. I like Mike Evans versus San Francisco. While San Fran's defense is known for being pretty good, they can be had in the air. And Baker, he's having a decent year. He's having a very good year by his standards, I would say. And that's not a slight at him. I do think he's having a very solid year as a quarterback. And he's getting it done by taking shots down the field. And it's to Mike Evans. So I'd go Mike Evans here in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. We already talked about Amari Cooper's matchup. Mike Evans is on that contract year. We got to remember, you're also not going to run. You're not going to run on the Niners. So Baker's probably going to throw, 35 to 40 attempts today. You want to have some of their receivers. Tough matchup, negative game script for them. Mike Evans should have, over 6 or more receptions today, just based off the way, the attempts. So I go Mike Evans as well.
Yeah, with the spread at almost 14 for the Niners at home, you like Ben said, the game script's going to be there. Baker's going to sling it to Evan. I mean, double coverage, triple coverage. That ball's finding its direction. Mike Evans' way. I'm going with Killer Mike here, man, it's just tough because every time we do this, like we go against one player, he just balls out. So
yeah, but the Browns, it's not looking good for the Browns today, especially if DTR is starting, like you all mentioned.
Yeah, I think Amari's ceiling today is like I can see him somehow getting to like six catches for 70 yards and then maybe getting a touchdown or something, right? Like that's how he could get there. I don't see him having a super explosive game. But I'm just saying, I'm throwing that stat line out there as like I think that's his ceiling, excuse me.
Yeah, we'll come back on the Tuesday show and it's like Amari Cooper career game.
And Ron, let's keep it with you. Walk us through your flexes here, because you got 2 out of the 3 guys on the list.
Yeah, I got you. Sorry, I'm just trying to.
No, yeah. Just doing a little transition.
Together, happy to.
Yeah, we got 3 guys here while Ron gets his notes.
We're good.
Oh, you got it? All right.
Yeah, I'm good, man. My bad. So the flexes of the week: Tank Dell, Jaden Reed, and Marquise Hollywood Brown. I like Jalen Reed here. He's becoming the number 1 receiver over there in Green Bay. Watson was the main guy, but he hasn't produced all year. Let's just face it. We had Mondo talking to us, and he said, should I start Tua or should I start Jordan Love? And we made fun of him right away. It was like Tua, clearly this and that. But I kind of listened to what he said, and I looked at the numbers, and I think Jordan Love has at least 17 fantasy points in his last several weeks. I like the matchup also for Green Bay. So, I mean, he's a guy that has that big playability. I like Jaden Reed to score a touchdown today, so he's definitely going to be in my flex. I'll let you guys cover Tank Dell while I hit on Marquise Hollywood Brown. He had I think it was him who Tyler just missed him last week. It was a ball that was in the end zone. I think it just was off his fingertips. I think the connection is going to be back with another week under their belts at practice. So Marquise Brown and Jaden Reed for me are your flexes of the week.
Yeah, Tank Dell, real quick for me. I just like him as an ascending rookie, second half of the year. He obviously has a good rapport with CJ Stroud. Past 2 weeks, he's had 11 and 14 targets, 1 touchdown and 2 touchdowns. I'm not calling another two touchdown performance, but I think the floor is pretty high, I guess, for Tank Dell, and it's pretty set, especially with Noah Brown now being out. That's a lot of targets to be occupied. I think he's gotten 9 and 10 maybe the last 2 weeks. I know 9 for sure last week. So give me Tank Dell here to have a pretty good week against Arizona, who doesn't have a world beater defense by any means. So yeah, I like Tank Dell to produce for another week. And then we got 3 other guys here. Ben, I don't know if you want to highlight on any of the 3 that I'm about to name, but flexes of the week, notable names: Devon A-Chain, Nico Collins, Jordan Addison. Any of those guys other than A-Chain, I guess Nico or Jordan Addison, pique your interest?
Yeah, I think it's going to be – I think you're pretty safe, starting Collins, Tank Dell. I would prefer Tank Dell over Nico Collins, and I know coming into the season, Nico was the clear number 1. But that connection that Stroud and Tank Dell have, man, it's crazy, I believe it's a lot of chemistry, yeah. And it's good. It's early on. They're both rookies. So I lean more Tank Dell over Collins. But like I said, A-Chain's got to be that must start.
Nice. And shout out Louis. He's going with another Texans guy this week. He's starting CJ Stroud. He already had part of the decision already go off for Lamar Jackson.
Lamar did all right, too.
Yeah, he had about 24 points on ESPN standard scoring for quarterbacks. So
28 on the other one. So yeah, in that range.
Yeah. So
isn't Louis? Hey Louis, aren't you a big Ravens guy? Isn't he the one?
He
who
is.
Yeah, but he knows Lamar ain't shit. He knows. Lou knows.
Damn.
If you guys have any other
flexes
you want to talk about, throw them out here. We're about to move on to our must starts, but we'll always talk about the flex position here.
Hey, shout out Lou though. He's from that PSJ area. I know he didn't go to PSJ North, but PSJ North and Valley High School football still one of the teams left, and they're actually ranked 8th in state. So
nice.
I'm looking forward to them hopefully playing up here in San Antonio, Austin area, and being able to watch them.
They're going. They're playing Brownsville Veterans for the area championship, I think it is, and they played them last year too, so it's a rematch.
I mean, they got a Valley team in the 3rd round. You gotta love your odds there, right?
They're going against each other.
Yeah.
Nice, impressive. Always good to hear that. So must starts of the week. I'm gonna name mine real quick. It's Brian Robinson. I like the matchup. It is about a 10-point spread, so that is a little scary. But his role these past few weeks has expanded. Before you would hear him, you would hear 6 and 117. You would think those were rushes maybe, but that was his receiving line last week. I'm not saying he's going to do that again, but I just think it's very impressive that Brian Robinson has added that to his game and they trust him enough. A lot of that was a little bit of broken plays where he found himself open, but he's added that to his repertoire as far as, the receiving ability. So I like Brian Robinson as an all-around player now, and I like him to get into the end zone today. So I think Brian Robinson, if you have him, must start, plug him in there. And again, he's got a safe floor this week.
Mine's gonna be Mr. TP himself. He's been playing like TP, man, or what you use TP for. Dude hasn't scored a touchdown all year.
Well, he hasn't scored since week 1.
Oh, okay, I have him here. He hasn't scored at all, or maybe that's just his receiving. Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Week 1, he did.
Yeah,
well,
he had 2.
1.
Yeah, he had 2. I was looking at his receiving, but those are the only 2 touchdowns in the entire year. He hasn't scored in double digits since week 6, back when they played the Chargers. But this is his breakout show. You're gonna want him. He'll finish top 3 fantasy running back this week. Anybody and everybody who needs a touchdown on the year gets it against Carolina. And he's going to get it. I'm talking about multiple touchdown game here. We're going to see another week 1 New York Giants performance from Tony Pollard where he gave you 22 points, 2 touchdowns on 14 carries for 70 yards. Put him in, lock him in. I mean, daily fantasy, prop bets, everything. Today is the TP game, bro. He's going off. Tony Pollard definitely must start for me.
You heard it here first, folks.
Heard it here first.
Breaking the streak. I like it.
Yeah, and Dallas is a team that could very well put up 40, 50 points against Carolina, and Tony Pollard could see himself, getting some of those carries inside the 5-yard line. So I hope you're right, Ron. I hope you're right for the sake of the show, for no other reason. Me, myself, I'm going to go with Geno. Last week I mentioned Geno as, a fill-in guy for Hurts, Mahomes, and them. He had 28 points last week, only threw 2 touchdowns, but he got it done through the air. He had over 40 attempts. I'm going back to the well this week with Geno. I'm actually starting him over Josh Allen today. Josh Allen plays the Jets. Just not a good record against the Jets. Very, sluggish games, 1 touchdown games against the Jets. Losses to the Jets. So I'm actually starting Geno over Josh Allen today. That's how much faith I have in Geno against the Rams.
It seems like you're all the way out of that Bills mafia.
No, I'm not.
No jersey
Jets,
and no starting Josh Allen. That's 2, Pat.
Following the Bills for those 2-3 years, I know the Jets, bro. It's just never good again. I mean, they already lost to this Wilson kid earlier this year. It's never good when they play the Jets. Now it could be the get back game where they just go out there and win 38-3 or some crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
But I got Geno this week. He's got better options, I feel. In the 3 wide receivers that he has.
Yeah, you have Diggs from Dallas putting out tweets about his brother, saying it's sad to be over there in Buffalo and stuff.
Yeah, you had to have, and Stephon had to answer for him too, saying that it was coming more from a fan perspective and that he doesn't tell him stuff like that. But yeah, that's interesting.
I feel like Harden. I feel like Harden leaving Brooklyn before everything happened. You know what I mean?
You knew what was going on.
You always got to bring up Uno in the show.
How to bring up Uno.
All right, we got some other names listed down here. Real quick before we get off to Survivor Pool, you got Devin Singletary, another Texans player with an expanded workload with Damian Pierce being out. He already proved what he can do with that. So Singletary, load him up if you have him.
Definitely.
And then Jake Ferguson and Washington defense. You want to talk about one of those two?
Yeah, Jake Ferguson is just like a solid play, or not a solid play, but just he's
He is
been
a
a
solid
solid
player.
player.
He
Yeah,
is
no,
a solid player.
yeah, he's a solid player. So just, I mean, tight ends, it's kind of like a crapshoot, unless it's the guy's name is Kelsey. And then with Mark Andrews going out, maybe he's somebody who's probably already rostered, but maybe work like a low end trade for him if you really need a tight end going on. And the Washington defense, I'm just picking on DeVito or Da Vinci or whoever the dude is who still lives with his mom over there in New York. But that's just a streaming pick this week. Washington Commander defense over the Giants.
All right, there you guys have it. 5 players and 1 defense. Any names, Ben, you want to throw out there real quick that you like to have big weeks or anything like that?
No, I mean players. I have players that I hope have big weeks, but honestly, today I have Laporta getting back on track. Laporta has had a couple of bad games. Games where in fantasy he hasn't touched double digits. I think in back-to-back weeks. Today they play the Bears, and the Bears defense is there to be had. I think that the Lions team total over might be a look as well today, playing against that Bears defense. So I like Laporta to get back on track. He may be a tight end that, you're having after those 2 bad weeks, maybe you're looking to move off of or whatnot. But I think that this is the week he gets back right.
Okay, I like that. And on the negative side, we don't like to talk about this so much, but any guys that you're benching or not going with this week because you're just like Ben just talked about, you're not going to bench Josh Allen, but you're not going to expect him to have a good week.
I did it.
Well, I mean, you're one of the people who have that ability to do so, but most people not benching Josh Allen, but other names that you want to bench out there? If you guys can think of one, the one that I'm benching personally, and I think we talked about it a little bit offline. I'm moving off of
Pacheco, right?
Pacheco this week. The only thing that scares me about Pacheco is getting like a 1 or 2 yard carry inside the red zone or something like that. But against his Eagles defense and the offense really hasn't been moving that well for the Chiefs this past few weeks, even though they have a get back. I don't think Pacheco is that reliable of a start this week. So
what about see somebody like James Cook?
James Cook.
Would you not? I mean, not necessarily drop him, but would you take him off your roster? I mean, last week he finally crossed double digits. He had 11, but like Ben said, he's benching Josh Allen because they're playing the Jets. So you would assume that the same strategy would go for somebody like James Cook, who doesn't even score a lot of breakout fantasy points to begin with. So that's somebody who you would say like, oh yeah, he's gonna be on my roster. James Cook, Buffalo offense, blah blah blah. But shit, sit him. Because it's the Jets and he hasn't been playing well anyway.
The only Bills players that I have confidence in this week, I mean, I'm never going to bench Josh Allen. I have him in a league, so I won't talk about him.
I'm outsmarting myself, Roland? Am I
No. I'm not saying that you are. I'm saying if you have the option, like, I mean, you have a viable option.
Well, but Geno, I mean, it's Geno. It's Geno.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, Josh Allen, like, let's just, if you just want to spend a little bit of time on him, he's still quarterback 1. Like, even though he's been playing bad, last week was really the only week that if you started him, you felt it, other than week 6 maybe. Other than that, I mean, he's been 24, 29, 24 3 out of the last 4 weeks. But anyways, the only guys I have confidence in other than Allen is Diggs and Kincaid. So that said, I would bench Cook this week if I had the option. I'm not that confident in him. And that's because he could have had a monster week last week. He had a fumble. And then he fumbled, and he still had like a 60-yard
play of the game. The first play of the game, he fumbled, and they sat him.
And then he did a little NFL street in the fourth quarter where he fumbled back to himself and caught it and still ran like.
Bro, that shit could have been disastrous. Not just for him, but for the Bills.
Yeah.
Hey, and also, the first time Josh Allen played the Jets this year, 41 pass attempts, 11 fantasy points.
Wow.
It's the Jets are a thing, bro. The Jets.
They have a good defense.
3 interceptions against the Jets the last time he played them this season. We know that he's good for 1 a game, but 3 is a little wild. You know what I mean?
For sure,
So
for sure.
Is that a prop bet?
I mean, the one interception on him is juice because he's got it just about the last like 6-7 games. So,
all right, and if you guys are watching and have any other names you want us to talk about, go ahead and throw them out there. We're gonna move off of this screen and get on to our best bets. Spend a little bit of time here breaking down some of the games. I'll go through mine real quick. We got some similarities here. I got Denver -2. Denver, their offense and their defense have both been playing much improved over the past couple of weeks. I really have some confidence in them going into this game. So I'm going to go back Denver -2. Next bet, going to have to hold my nose a little bit, but it's more of a fade on Jacksonville than anything. I'm backing Tennessee and the Titans going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, catching 6.5 points here. This is a bet on Vrabel. A bounce back week. I know they looked bad, but this is a team that when things are looking bad, they seem to surprise people. So I'm just going to bet on that a little bit here more than anything else in terms of X's and O's. And then my last one here, Cleveland -2. And this is my favorite bet this week.
damn it, boy.
Wow.
This is my favorite bet this week. Cleveland -2. Pittsburgh, I give them props. I think Mike Tomlin should win Coach of the Year if Pittsburgh keeps this up. I forget the other names that people are talking about.
D'Amico Ryans.
It's Mike Tomlin if Pittsburgh keeps it up. But I'm not betting on them to do that. They get outgained every game. The only thing that saves them is that Kenny Pickett is not turning the ball over very much. He doesn't have a lot of turnovers, but he's not going to threaten you in the air. So even though Cleveland lost Deshaun Watson, I mean, the quarterback battle is more of a wash now than anything when you got DTR versus Pickett. So not worried about that. They're going down to DTR because it's honestly, Deshaun Watson, he popped the last, 2 weeks maybe, and even then he wasn't playing that good. Yeah. So it's not that much of a downgrade. And I'm going to back this Cleveland defense. Even though they didn't play that good last week, they're going to get right against this Pittsburgh offense. So give me Cleveland doing just enough to get it done at home. Yeah, I'm backing Cleveland here. I'm not betting against Pittsburgh or betting.
And also, I mean, I'm with you, Roland. I was surprised to hear you say that it's your play of the day. But even when you see Cleveland -2, against the Steelers, who are 3 games above 500 or whatever, and no Deshaun Watson, I mean, it's kind of telling you something. You know what I mean? The line's kind of telling you something. So I like it.
Thank you. I appreciate you backing me up there. Ron, any thoughts on my bets before you go on to yours?
The Tennessee one is a little risky for me just because I've been a Tennessee guy this year. Like,
bro, I was going to put the Jags on my card, and I saw Roland on Tennessee, and I was like, do I really want to lay 6.5 with the Jags, though?
Yeah, it's more of a backdoor play than anything else.
Yeah, and the only reason is because Tennessee has already screwed me this year twice. So that's just more of a, screw you, Tennessee. I'm not gonna ride with you. And Jacksonville's got a strong team. ETN has been, low key, fantasy player this year, and I think that they get it right at home. They've had to travel a lot to London, and plus their away games. They're finally at home. They're finally relaxing, where they need to be. And I think this is a game where we're one of those games where they put it all together. It could be a big Christian Kirk game.
I like that.
Other than that, man, your Cleveland pick is wild, but all the facts are there to support yourself. Kenny Pickett isn't the guy, and against that Cleveland defense, we could see him on the ground a lot. Maybe even a little Mitch Trubisky sighting, but who knows?
We even talked a little bit about the running back who got named the starter, over Najee, Jalen Warren. And I was saying, that could have been a guy that we brought up and maybe bench him this week because he's been pretty consistent the last 2 weeks, getting in the end zone, double-digit guy, flex type of guy. Do you want to start him this week against the Cleveland defense? That's something that we were talking about, before we came on air. But I decided I don't want to play him against the defense I think is the best in the NFL. So today for the Steelers, I don't know if you're playing much of anybody in fantasy football. And even the Browns. Maybe you're starting forward, but that's about it. And the defenses?
Not a lot of points expected there, but there is one game where we expect a lot of points. And Ron, do you want to talk about it? It's on your card.
Yeah, man. Detroit and Chicago. We talked about it earlier. And I think that in the Dome, I can't believe I'm blanking out. The Lions quarterback, Jared Goff, he just loves to sling that rock. We saw St. Brown have a great game. The running backs are both healthy. Gibbs and Montgomery, I think they kind of learned to work them both in. And I think there's going to be a lot of points not only on the Detroit side going against that Chicago defense, but overall in the game. I mean, I think they have the score predicted, in the 50s. I think it is like a 32-22 kind of game, easily gets you there. Taking the over there. Dallas -10. Oh, my boys.
This is what they do, right? This is what they do.
They beat up on bad teams, right?
Yeah.
So they beat up on bad teams. They're going away to Carolina, but still, we've seen the performance that, rookie first round pick Young is putting up, and then you throw the Dallas defense against him. I mean, Dak Prescott is MVP talks, so it should be a clear play. It should be the biggest chalk play, if not one of the biggest. So let's just go ahead and ride them going into Thanksgiving. And then Denver -2. Jesus Christ, Broncos country, let's ride for my boy Mondo. This is more of Mondo saying Denver hasn't lost the game since I went to go see them live. So I'm going to keep riding that streak for you, my boy. We're going to go Denver -2. And not only because of Mondo, because they're at home one. It's always tough to go play in that altitude. And Minnesota, we all know the story, miracle performance by Dobbs, but there is trouble in the backfield. Their defense is awesome, but I think that the Denver offense is just looking so good since they started incorporating the run. So this is a game where they can control a lot of the clock to me. I think Dobbs isn't going to get away with those plays every single week. So you take that all into consideration against a better defense, definitely for the Broncos in the latter part of the year. So those are my 3 picks. Detroit and Chicago over 47, Dallas -10, and Denver -2. Josh, we'll get to your question after Ben's bet real quick.
I really like that Dallas pick just because they do beat up on bad teams. I can see this being like 34-3 or 31-3 really quick. So
yeah, I know Mondo's looking at that first half, and Dallas first half has also been pretty good playing against these bad teams, being up more than a possession at halftime. So
I like it.
Yeah. For me, I'll get into mine real quick. Seattle, the Seahawks +1.5. This is a division game against the Rams. Usually this is a game that they split the season series 1-1, but the Rams, they've been without Stafford. I do believe that he's back today. They got the receivers back. The Seahawks, their strength is actually the secondary. So I do like the way the secondary matches up against Puka and Cooper Kupp. I like if the Seahawks want to make the playoffs as a wild card the same way they did last year, this is a game they have to win. So give me the Seahawks today. I'll take the +1.5, just in case they lose by 1 or whatever, but Seahawks money line is also there. Like Ron said, Goff, I looked to make sure Detroit was playing in the Dome. If this was Goff in Soldier Field, there's no way I would want to touch, Detroit. They'd probably be laying 3 or 4 if they were playing in Chicago. It is in the Dome. Jared Goff is comfortable in the Dome. Gibbs has looked like the guy that they drafted him to be as of recently. So I do like Detroit -8. I like them to score a lot of points today. And then a little 2-team teaser. I'm bringing Miami down to under a touchdown. Miami off of bye week. They should beat up on the Raiders by more than a TD. And then Detroit just to get the win at home as a teaser. So, yep, that's my bets.
I love it, bro.
All of those.
Josh, thanks for joining us, man. So we have Josh coming in here before we end the show because it is 11:40. So we'll give you guys time to go do all your tweaking. Achani, however you want to call him, or Derrick Henry versus Jacksonville. Derrick Henry usually has a strong rebound after a bad week. So, boys, Achane, or Henry?
Man, this is tough for me because, Derrick Henry, for the most part, has been like a set it and forget it type of player the past couple of years of his career. And, he's one of the best in the business. But he does have a tough matchup against the Jacksonville Jags. Man, this is tough for me. I'm going to go A-Chain here just because I've been waiting for him. So I'm going A-Chain.
Yeah, I've been agreeing with Roland all show because he's been leading the charge. But, we're on the same page this week. I think that A-Chain, like I said, he's back. They're going to look to implement him. They're going to look to get him back on track, for this playoff run, especially off of a bye week. They've worked on stuff. So A-Chain gets in the end zone today. Usually that's a guarantee for Henry. This year it hasn't been, but give me A-Chain for sure.
Shout out Josh.
All right, boys. So I am gonna go against y'all today for another
Of course.
time. I think.
Of course.
Well, I just think that you can't go against Old Reliable here. I mean, he had a bad week last week
Fair
at
enough.
Tampa Bay. At Tampa Bay, they played 3 road games in a row, but he's not a player who's gonna put back-to-back weeks, bad back-to-back weeks, together. So he had 16 points week 8, 19 points week 9, the dud last week, week 3. And I think that they utilize him a little bit more. Will Levis had that great game, right, with all those touchdown passes to Hopkins. But I think that Vrabel's going to realize where his bread and butter is, and it's in the running game. And you want to keep that Jacksonville offense off the field. So I think Derrick Henry over H-on today because Mostert's there too, boys. I mean, and that's just me. I know he can produce off of minimum workload, but if it's Derrick Henry or H-on, Mr. Josh, I'm going to ride Derrick Henry, man.
I don't think Henry has 3. I think he could have like a 10-point game, but I just think that A-Chain is like he's set for a big return.
The ceiling's high.
I think if you were able to tread water while he was on the IR and you're an owner, I think that you're in good position right now.
Yeah.
Yep, and we're running short on time. It's 11:43. Do want to give you guys some time to set your lineups real quick, but just want to give you guys a Survivor update real quick.
Yeah.
Only 3 people left. 2 of them are on the screen right now. You're looking.
Take me off the screen. Take me off the screen, bro.
I mean, I already put attention to this on Tuesday, so not going to spend too much time on highlighting who's left. But as far as the picks and who are like obvious picks in Survivor this week, you got the Dolphins, you got the Commanders, you got the Lions, maybe sprinkle in the Bills and 49ers if you have them available. Cowboys, all available in terms of being easy picks. But for the fact of the matter is a lot of those are taken. Like there's no 49ers available really, no Dallas, no Detroit, already been used. Miami been used in a lot of pools. So Ron, going to throw it to you real quick. Who are you going with in Survivor? And just a quick why, and then we'll wrap it up today.
I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders over the lowly New York Giants. This is just a pick on the Giants being so bad and Sam Howell slinging it and being the good quarterback and, Ron Rivera being Riverboat Ron and gambling and, all signs point to yes for the Washington Commanders this week. So I know I'm not the only one on the panel who has them, and the other player left in the Survivor pool cannot use them. So, dude, if the Commanders go down and his team wins, damn, I mean, it could be great news.
Survivor could end this week, though.
Survivor could end this week. Yes, yes, sir.
Big chance Survivor.
Yeah, man, that's my.
Or we could have an all we talking about sports finale with Ron and Roland in the final.
And then
I think Roland knows who the guy picked. Who did he pick?
I don't know who he picked. I don't know. We won't.
Oh, you don't know?
We won't know until 12.
Yeah, that's right.
I just know that he can't pick Washington like Ron.
I'm predicting the Lions. I'm predicting he went with the Lions.
Yeah, Lions would probably be the safest. I think Washington would be considered one of the safest picks if it were not for what Ron said with, a Riverboat Ron Rivera and Sam Howell potentially throwing like 5 picks, which could.
They're throwing it on Sam Howell, boys. Let's go.
I will say,
don't remind me.
He's been playing good, but when he plays bad, he plays bad. Like it's not a pretty sight. And I mean, the only thing that can save them right now, they're going up against Tommy DeVito. So that's going to give me a lot of faith. So we're going to be back next week, and it's going to be a positive vibe because both Ron and I are going to have survived, and it's going to be we talking about sports war for the rest of the season.
And
let's just get a big lead by halftime.
The Giants could be in tank mode. I mean, I don't take their head coach for being that type of guy, but they're in that position to where they could have the number 1 pick if they just keep shitting the bed the way they've been doing it all season.
And I mean, why do you want to mess up having a number 1 pick, right? I mean, I was listening to a podcast talking about
the Texans.
If you're in the position to have,
you get CJ Stroud,
it works out. If you're in the position to have the number 1 pick or a top pick, don't mess it up by like winning meaningless games. So I don't know. Maybe they are in tank mode, like Ben said, but we'll see. Hopefully, Ron and I are both here to talk about it next week because we both won, but. We'll see. That's why we show up and watch the podcast. That's why they play the game, as they say. But that's it for me. Unless you guys have anything else.
No, sir.
That's it, boys. Good luck to everybody watching Week 11. Visit WTBS.store. Hit us up on all social platforms. We appreciate all the love, all the comments, all the shares. That's it. Have a good week. Si Dios quiere, we will see y'all on Tuesday.
Later.
Peace.
Peace.